All right, we're gonna try something new. The new Louisville Whiskey Co. 8 year single barrel with my man Chase from Nulu Whiskey House. Chase, what's up, bud?
Hey man, how you doing, Jason?
I'm good, man. One label is sick, the bottle's sick, and I also need to know the story of why it's El Chapo.
Bro, so I'm like half Mexican. Hablo un poquito español, no todo. But just I don't know. I think I was drunk one night. I tasted the barrel, and it's 132.4 proof. It's a big, rich, oaky bomb, and I was like, it doesn't fuck around, so let's name it El Chapo. And really, what's cool is like when we launched the brand in December, I've pretty much just been sending this bottles to like distributors, retailer friends, and people like you. It's like, yo, check out this new brand. So it's cool to be, 5 years into the industry to where we can give away a bottle that retails for 130 bucks. Just as like, hey, thanks for support. Check out what we're doing now. Like this is our premium limited. We don't have a ton of barrels that like are justifiably able to put into this bottle. So
Yeah,
it's some special juice for us. These barrels have been in the warehouse for years, heat cycling, picking up proof. I mean, look at the color, man. I mean, it's
dude, the color's beautiful, man. Yeah, nice dark, but it has like that like almost burnt orange, like little mahogany look, man. Like stoked. All right, so if you can, barrel number C503. What is the mash bill behind this? And I don't like to not drink, so I'm gonna open it up.
hell yeah. So any C prefix barrel number from Nulu Whiskey House is going to be a 36% rye mash bill. So 60
Ooh.
corn, 36 rye, 4 barley. And so if you read that back label, pretty much all it says is like, look, we've been Nulu. This is a new trend. That's why we want to have a brand that says new. But these barrels have been earmarked in our warehouse for 2, 3, 4 years, heat cycling, and we've been strategically aging them. Oh, tight cork, fresh
That was
bottle.
good, dude. That was a good one. That was good.
Yeah, I'll pour up with you. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, my man. Thanks for sending this one. I was when you hit me up and like, hey, did you get that bottle? I'm like, man, I don't know. I gotta look at some boxes. And I was like, then I opened it up. I was like, right away, I was like, this is sick. Like, didn't even look at the back. Didn't realize that was just a single barrel. And like, then I turned around. I'm like, oh, even more cooler. It's like you had the single barrel. And then I saw like, okay, 134. It's a new brand, 8 year. I actually like, I think 6 to 9 years, like my wheelhouse. Like, yeah, there's some great stuff that's older. There's also some really bad stuff that's younger. But like, I think 6 to 9 is a really good year. So like 8, I'm excited about. 132, knowing you, man, is going to be that delicious good. Not flirting with the hazmat, but really high proof, but tasty.
Yeah. We're starting to find more hazmat barrels because of, like I said, we heat cycle the warehouse. So these barrels came in like the low 120s. So a couple of years you're picking up a lot of proof. So some of the barrels that we have are like 10. They're yielding like 50, 60 bottles, and they're 130 to 140 proof. 10-year-old. So that's kind of the premise of this line. It's like big, proofy, rich, decadent. It's for the bourbon connoisseur, like bourbon nerd. Like this is not your training wheels bourbon. This is like, yo, you've already had some 100 proof, some 115. You're ready to like start drinking your dessert.
Yeah, there you go. What? So when were you taste this before you got this barrel, right?
What do you like taste the G?
Before, like when you selected before it came to came to kind of stay with you? Did you kind of sample some of these barrels prior, or they just buy them blind?
Yeah, I mean during COVID, dude, like which we started Nulu in 2020. Dude, like you're blessed if you could buy 4 year, 5 year, like once 2021. Like in 2020, we could find 5 year MGP for like around about the same price as 15, 16 year MGP light whiskey. Like, and then within a year, the market exploded. Light whiskey had doubled, tripled in price, and bourbon had doubled or tripled in price. So, you find 100 barrels of 5 year, 36% rye from either Kentucky or Indiana in 21, you're buying them. So that's kind of what we did. And luckily, most of the lot, like it kind of had like a youthful note at 5.5 when we brought them in. But we checked them at like 6.5, and we're like, ooh, if we put these all high in the warehouse, keep the heat cranked, and here we are, 2 years later, and we're like, damn, like this one, I mean, I don't know, did you just take a sip?
I did, dude. That's really good.
Yeah, like I get like smoke, honey, like berries, char, like it's just so many layers, right? It's a mature bourbon.
I was gonna say there's a lot of smoke on. I think that's what I really like. There's like this apple note too. That's like it's a nice apple in there that with that caramel, that butterscotch, the honey. Honey really is, but it's like a warm honey. There is a difference.
Oh, for sure.
This does not drink 132.4,
especially for first sip of the day, right?
Before the day, yeah. Okay. Go right into it. That's fun, man. I think the rye really is highlighting here, but and I mean that in a way for people who like rye, who might not like rye. Like, it's a welcoming rye. It's not one of those ryes that's going to kind of punch you in the face for only being 30%. Some of those higher rye mash bills will kind of be a little harsh on that first sip, but 8-year first pour out of the bottle. I don't believe in neck pours, by the way. So first pour out of the bottle, like, it's good. Like, it's phenomenal. Hits all those notes, man. There's that smoke, man. There's oak, there's maple, there's honey. I do get that, it's almost like a blackberry note when you said berries.
Yeah, what's like, I don't know. I think I've gone through like 4 or 5 of these over the past couple months. Like, we'll drink half one and I'll leave it at a restaurant or whatever. Like, that's what's been cool about it, is it's, we're not dependent on this brand to this is more of like a dream come true, right? To have a bourbon, make a completely, original label. We're not people who are resurrecting labels. That's cool. Like, that's a great way, coming to the market. But I love that we did something new. It pays homage to our, our outlook, our dream, and our city. And, name a barrel El Chapo, it hits. And man, it's really fun and cool to be here.
I think what's cool is it also it kind of, like you said, it's full circle. It kind of ties back into like you and what you wanted to do, what you want Nulu Whiskey House to be, but also just it's fun, man. This is something that, like, you got these barrels and you've been like, hey, let's try this, let's make things work. And I think one of these things right now, like, I think it ties into Nulu all the way to a T. Really tasty. I think it's great.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we're gonna do our best not to make these just completely available too. So they're gonna go to our best customers when we launch the brand. Our top New York and top New Jersey customers, they both picked an 8 and a 10 year. So that was 4 barrels. Our best customer in Indiana took an 8-year. And then the distributor for New York, New Jersey, Connecticut took a 10-year.
How many bottles came out of the Chapo barrel?
It was around 110, so pretty low yield for 8-year.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Limited, they're single barrel only, and then they're low yield too because of all the heat cycling years. You start to you're just condensing the whiskey. If you have 35 gallons at 120 proof, 2 years later, you're probably going to have 22 gallons at 135, which I really have.
So I know it's Kentucky. Can you disclose a little bit on where or who?
So I love that you just said it was Kentucky, because that's MGP, bro. It doesn't drink
really? Awesome.
It doesn't drink like MGP to me. It just drinks really rich, really oily.
Totally misread the label. It definitely does not say Kentucky on it.
It doesn't say anything so again, this is 8, 9, and 10 years, so 8-year minimum, single barrel only. We kind of just don't want people to focus on where it's from. We want people to focus on the name of the bottle and the brand, and then the quality of the whiskey. Simply because we're starting to buy so many different barrel lots that if we're putting it in this bottle, it's the juice, man. The more these things open up, especially when you sip them out of the barrel, there's no heat, the oil level's high. This one, you could, if you're really, really nitpicking, and I know you don't believe in neck pours, so, we shake it up a little and, but fresh crack, it's
I hate that. I don't know why, people say oh man, I didn't really care for the neck pour. I'm like, shut up.
You should know you got literally gasoline proof inside a glass container for months on end. It's when you pop it open, there's going to be more gas than there is if you leave it in the glass for 10, 20 minutes. But, that's what we're shooting for. It's just good whiskey, man. And
I think one thing about being good whiskey, I think it does evolve a little bit as you sip through the process. And now, there's even, I feel like I know your profile a little bit on just your taste. There's always a little bit of a maple note, always on the back end, a little bit of finish, like a burnt maple, charred maple, just that lingers. And I'm like, so Chase is probably going to be it's going to be his signature. There has to be a little hint of maple on that. Is that true?
Man, I'm just I'm a fat kid at heart. It's a miracle I'm not obese. But
dude,
For real. So I just look for like that vanilla, the berries, the creme brulee. That's down my alley. The smoke and like this is starting to get a little funk now on the nose. Like kind of that smoke note is subdued, and you're getting more like not herbal, but like a funky wood.
Yeah,
And,
no, there's like almost like an after bitter smoke charred note that's like is floating around for sure in the glass.
So that I don't discriminate, man. I mean, I'm sure you like. What's your favorite kind of profile? You're like all of them, right?
Yeah, dude, really. I mean, like I'm the fat kid in the candy store, but it's like a whiskey aisle. I think for me, like I like something that the first sip I'm gonna be like, I like something that's kind of like a wow factor. I don't, and there's no like note that I like per se, but like I do like more of a rye flavor. Like rye is kind of more up my alley. I'm more of a rye first. But I do like. It sounds kind of weird, but like I like a cherry Coke kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Like those, like I think those good bourbons really kind of pop off. Like it's probably why I kind of like GTS so much. Like it's just like that dark cherry. I know what I'm gonna get. Like I know.
Yeah, and that's what I love about like premium whiskeys. Like I know BTAC's hard to get, but no matter what with a GTS, whatever year, like the backbone of that pour is going to be red fruit, most likely cherry. It's going to have like that dark, rich, aged 15-year bourbon. But then from there, it's like some of them have marshmallow, some of them have like citrus fruit, some have the smoke, and that's where it's like now we're talking top tier bourbons. It's like and that's what's cool about single barrels. It's like that GTS is a big batch every year, but some of these barrels, like we dumped a 10-year hazmat MGP, and it is cherry. Like once it finally opens up at 140, again, it's a bourbon, not a light whiskey. So hazmat MGP bourbon, which is hard to get,
Yeah, man.
And boom, you got this cherry bomb. Like who doesn't love that? And there's like 60 bottles.
This alone, man, like you said, like that color, like, and that's like a good oil, like the fatty acids in there, like you can kind of see that they are like this is something that was non-chill. This is 100% like letting those fatty acids really play part of this. I will admit a little bit, it has developed to also being open, but I will still stand behind that first pour with it was phenomenal.
I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you dig
it.
Man.
I swear that you have a maple note, man. I swear you're a maple guy. You're like me, man. I love maple. So maybe to go back to that, like I think if it's not rye, there's like I think maple was something I always try to think stands out to me. That is something I really just truly like always like, and it's like I don't know. That's probably why we did that maple single barrel with you.
Yeah. Which we're dumping that I think this week.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So it's been in a maple barrel of sorts for like a year and 9 months, but we threw it a little while ago in a maple brulee barrel. So it will come in the maple brulee label.
Oh, sick. Okay.
So it's like a double maple. I guess we could have made a label, but double maple. And like,
I'm not going to say no to it, dude.
Yeah. A year and 9 months finish, still in a charred barrel, still picking up, oak and oxidation, but that maple note, it just brings nice texture, those maple finishes. But I don't know, this one kind of, I hear what you're saying, man. The more I sip it, that like mid palate just is like screaming maple along with the berries and the honey and the char and smoke.
Yeah, there's I think one thing you said again, good bourbon kind of develops, and I think I could see where this came in at, and like what that in a couple of years is being in your spot with the temperature fluctuation and being high. I'm curious, what another year would have done, or 2 years. So I'm curious. So what is next for new Louisville whiskey? Like, what's the next single barrel? Like, where are they going? Are they going just to clubs? Are they going to go to stores? Are they regionalized? Like what?
So we're pretty much just going through our list of Nulu customers and saying like, deal with your easy customers, right? Like the people who like to support my family, like what we're doing. Some people already have their name on barrels, or like Jamie in Lincoln Road in Mississippi has had his name on this barrel we've had since 2021.
He's the guy that owns just a single barrel store, right?
I mean, he's known for, I think he has, 100 or 200 single barrels. Dude's crazy.
Long beard, right?
No. He's a younger, he's probably about maybe 40, 41, I think. But he and his wife, there's good people. Great. His wife's got a great palate too. They've been picking Willet barrels. They used to have one of every 4 roses at all times. But people like that I've met, and then new people. I mean, we have a friend up in New Jersey he's 23 and his family has been in the industry a while, but he started a bourbon club through his retailers. And so long-winded way to answer your question. We're keeping them limited one, but the next run, I think we're capping at like 10 or 11 barrels. That's going to be in March timeframe.
Okay.
And I think we already have like 6 or 7 picked. So
will everything stay the same, just different name on the back from the branding standpoint?
Yes, sir. And then we're actually there's going to be a rye variant as well. We found some really good 9 and 11-year rye in the warehouse, so those will release later this year.
Dude, one of my favorite ryes is the Badge 1 Kentucky Owl rye. Like, that's still hands down one of my favorite ryes. So how's the label going to change with it from the bourbon? You going to kind of flip flop the teal and the orange for a rye, or what?
Yeah, so it'll be more. It's gonna be more like a purple and green vibe, like like Joker colors, and then.
Oh yeah, dude! Thank you for keeping it. Like, I hate there's like 4 brands out there that have green like on a single barrel rye or a single barrel like bourbon or like a small batch. I'm like, green needs to be rye. Just from a consumer standpoint, like people that unless you're like you're Irish, like you can do green whenever. But if you're gonna do a bourbon, green does not need to be your prominent logo.
I'm right there with you, man. That's why we went with so much black and then the blue. But we didn't think we were going to do rye, but that changed this week. So,
this week,
you're
like, this needs to go onto the new lineup.
Well, I forgot about these ryes, man. We only had like 12 of them left or so. And, we've had them for like 3 or 4 years, and the proofs have come up. Their motor was dark, and it was like, man, I gave the retailer the option. I was like, you could take it as a Nulu, or he was like, no, New Louisville. And he was the New Jersey customer that got 2 barrels of the New Louisville bourbon. So he was like, I already know this is limited, and I want limited rye now too. I was like, cool, man, I'm happy to do that for you.
That's awesome. I will say, dude, the more I keep drinking it, it's really damn good. To be honest, like, this is something like, and look, this is where I like drinking blinds, because like you can put this up there with some other bottles, and I'm not just saying that because you're on right now. Like, this would really hold its own, and a lot of people will pass on it because they might not recognize the logo, and that's where I think people need to drink more stuff that's affordable, reasonable, and on shelves, because you're gonna pass something up like this, man. Yeah.
I mean, we're priced pretty aggressively. Once you go over that $100 mark, it's like, should we just charge $200? I mean, people that aren't spending $100, they're not spending $200. So
what's the price point for this guy?
So the 8 years are going to be about $129.99.
Okay, for a single brother, not bad at all.
Right. So we feel like it's like middle of the road for, there for a while, people, I don't want to name brands or anything, but like some brands were selling 6, 7, 8-year juice or unage dated blends for like $200 to $300. And I'm over here. I got this 5-year toasted bourbon for $75 or, it's just whatever. The market was where it was. And now it's like, that's what's cool is this whole thing's relationships. So the more friends we make, the more people that taste our liquid, and they just are like, man, I don't care what kind of bottle it comes in. It's good. That's how a brand like us stays alive and thrives. And we just don't have debt on inventory. I listened to Drew at Willet, Drew Colsey, and he's like, dude, last thing you want to do is borrow money for barrels. There's always going to be barrels. There's only going to be more. And so we never had any finance deals go through. And thank God we didn't, because we still have a ton of barrels. We have over 2,000, but we own them outright, and they just keep getting.
You really? You guys have 2,000 barrels?
Yeah, like 2,400.
Nice. So I've been to Nulu Whiskey House. Where are the other barrels? Are they just staying at some other rick houses, or
they're all over the place? There's like 150 over at Mark Carter's new place in Louisville. There's a little bit left at Barrel Craft Spirits.
So how does that work? Do they, when you say you want to buy that barrel, like, can you just leave it there, and that's part of like, do you lease like space?
Yeah, so it's negotiating. Some people are like, hey, these barrels are for sale, and usually if they're like, as soon as you
Yeah.
wire the money, you have to pull them out. Like you need to get a truck there.
Oh, they need to get off their books or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, you need to come take it now."
They're like, get it out of get it out. Whereas other times, for us, you've seen our place. Like we have 900 barrels in there right now. It's stuffed.
Yeah,
so,
but you're a forklift pro, dude.
Dude, I was like, if the forklift dies, we're so screwed. That thing is the GOAT. It is the hardest working member of our team. But yeah, dude. So I think we have like close to 1,000 still at MGP, and like MGP roundabout, everyone charges like market price is about $4 a month. But
No, it's not bad.
Right. So for us though, it's like you got 1,000 something barrels out there. 6, 7, 8 grand a month. You're like, well, shit, that adds up.
Yeah, that does add up.
You could mortgage a place. You could get a decent warehouse, which we're trying to figure out if we want to buy a pre-existing building because it's so expensive to build right now.
Yeah, dude, ground up construction is just like not worth it. Like, hopefully you can, if you're looking to do that expansion, that you can find something that's like kind of turnkey, maybe some little tweaks here and there that like make it yours, but like the core infrastructure is already there. Like, cool. Hey, we'll save this amount of money by pulling these barrels here. We can put them over here, and that money, in a 6 month, you got a great ROI on something.
Absolutely. And you own another piece of commercial property.
Yeah.
We put in a bid on a place, I think it was in December, and there's a trucking company there, and our only competitor for the bid, they put in a bid on the building and the business that was there. So there's no way we were going to get it because we were going to turn it into a bourbon place. But we just keep chilling. We're praying. God's good, man. We've been nothing but blessed ever since we got those first 20 barrels of bourbon in 2020. So, I mean, right now our setup's not like it's definitely a golf ball through a garden hose or square peg in a round hole. But we're down near downtown, and we've bottled thousands of barrels, and I'm sure we'll bottle plenty more down there. So, it works. The system works. A lot of the hard work's behind us, and then, like you said, what's next? We still have probably 80 barrels in this run, and they're all just banging. And then there's a run right behind it that we have like I think 95 or 98 of that turned 9 this year, and some of those are starting to creep over 130, and they taste really good.
Nulu, you do a lot of like finished stuff, and like I think you do finishes very well. And then you had the family line with the Hazelbaker. That's more of the bottle and bond stuff. With this, will you ever finish anything, or are you gonna kind of let this just be straight up single barrels as is? Or
yeah, I'm like, so some finishes I'm cool with, but if you ever came to my house and we're drinking, it's all straight bourbon. Like finishes are great, but you got to think I do work with them. I'm weird, right? Like I taste finishes and try to make finishes right. So this brand is like, this is really what I've been drinking since we bottled these. Like, I got all this bourbon behind me, and I drink our stuff. I'm spoiled as hell, but this is probably just going to stay single barrel. And then Nulu has kind of evolved into like really good toasted double oak 6-7 year bourbon, and then maple brulee, toasted honey, peach brandy, all the experimental stuff. And then where our like flagship everybody everyday bourbon, that's going to be the Hazelbaker bottled and bond stuff. So it's kind of cool to have like, the Nulu Whiskey House has 3 different identities.
Yeah, man, this baby.
Let's go. That's that batch 1. It's just red fruit, vanilla, nice oak.
Dude, I love this one. Like it was really good. Like, yeah. Would you just say red what?
Red fruit, vanilla, and then like nice oak, just like good char.
It was a really good, like I think that's where it really stood out. It was like it went from fruit to wood, but like blended very nicely, almost like there was a blending happening there, even though it's not. It really kind of worked out. And I remember just like, and it had that oakiness where like a little bit of dryness where I'm like, do I need another pour? Like, yes, I do.
Yeah. I remember I sent a bottle of the heavy bourbon, and Dan messaged me. He goes, dude, had a blind tasting last night, and the Hazelbaker won hands down. And then the next day he posted like the empty bottle. He was like, it didn't stand a chance.
So I will say this. So it's funny that you said it. I think one thing that I like a lot lately, I think with my palate, I think there's not a bourbon fatigue, but I like finished whiskey because now I want to see can a whiskey handle, what it's being thrown into as its final stage. But also I like bottle and bond because you can't hide anything there. Like it is what it is. It has to be 4 years. It's a minimum of 4 years, and it's gonna be down to 100 proof. And there's no hiding a bad product. Like if it's good, it's gonna show. If it's bad, it's gonna show. Like you can't like fluff that one by any means, no matter what you do to it. Like bottle and bond, I think is a good. Always like when I tell someone, like if someone asks me like, hey, like what should I get for like my first bottle? I'm trying to get into something, or I want to get a good gift. It's like I'm always gonna say a bottle and bond, or I'm gonna say a single barrel, because like those are, yes, they're very drastic, but like that's gonna show you like some good quality right there from the bottle and bond side for 100 proof, but also for a single barrel. Like if it's good enough to not, to be a standalone as a single barrel, it's going to be highlighted. It's going to be advertised as, hey, this is a really good single barrel or whatnot, or any brand, not just this one. But it's going to stand up against competition where other, things like batches or just regular traditional stuff might get lost in the fold. But single barrels and bottle and bond, I think, stand up, to the testament of, anything else if you're going to drink it.
I couldn't agree more, man. Like you took the words right out of my brain. It's
words.
Yes. Well, dude, it's like you said, bottle and bond. I mean, it has to be some kind of age statement. And then you can't like cross blend distilleries. You can't cross blend lots. Like it has to be from the same distillery from the first 6 or last 6 months of the year. And, that's what's so good is, so for us, the Hazelbaker line was a lot of 300 barrels we got all from 2018, and they drink like they're from 2016. Like they're just really old, rich. And so, like you said, you start adding a bunch of water to it, and it shows you if it's a bad barrel. So for us, we're just all the good barrels, dumping them together and getting these killer bottled and bond batches. And then some of them were, double oaking and using them in the Nulu line, or some of them are just way, way, way too good. And it's like, cool, we're holding. So those barrels are turning 7 this year, and like probably 20 or 30 of them will be hazmat throughout the year.
So this bottle and bond is way over than 4 years in the typical. This almost 6. You find with 6 on this one? Nice.
Yeah, and then that lot of barrels turn 7 over like the next few months. So yeah, I don't know if it will change the age statement, just because I really want to try to find like some Kelvin Green River at 6, or I got offered some 6-year turkey. Like if there's something that's quality, it doesn't matter where it's from.
Why not?
Yeah, I'd love to have 6-year turkey, curate it, and you buy a few hundred and blend maybe 10% of them, all the good single barrels, dump those as a big batch, and then kind of just heat cycle the rest and have some good, 8-year new Louisville turkey barrels here in 2 years.
All right. For those who might not know, describe the skyline of downtown Louisville.
Yeah, so here's that like more round building. It's my camera's blurry in the middle. That's the Mercer building. So that's what we wanted to depict. From this point of view, it doesn't look like the tallest building. I want to say that one next to it's the PNC. And then if you look at the back, you get another view. There's the Mercer. I think that's PNC Tower here. The Yum is like way over here. And so this would be like your point of view if you were on the Indiana side in the river, like if you're looking across the bridge. And then this point of view is from like bird's eye view from like kind of maybe a half mile or so into the city. You're kind of getting a cool landscape, little view there.
Yeah, man.
Or actually, I guess that would be from the highway.
So that would be from the highway. That would be like on the riverside, right?
No, in the city, like if you pass 65 or take 65.
The hospital style? The hospital way?
You pass the hospital and it kind of comes around. That's kind of what you'd be looking at. Like, I guess it'd be like behind Broadway, close to like St. Catherine's, kind of in between there is where the point of view would be.
What, so the El Chapo, like what's the next, have you already bottled number 2 for this?
I haven't picked another barrel yet. So this was, like I said, my barrel. But there's like James, bourbon enthusiast. He picked a 9-year that we've had since 2020. So, 4.5 years of heat cycling. And he was, first thing he said, like we popped the bung, hadn't tasted it in probably a couple of years, poured everybody a pour. And he was like, dude, this tastes like Stag. He's like, this is so good. It's cherry.
Reject here. You bought it.
So I think we're going to name that one like Cream Daddy. because it's like the more you drink it, the more like that cherry cola turned into like cherry creamy cream. Like it was just we were drooling on that one. And then he may or may not have a 10-year hazmat coming as well.
So what's your take on everyone? Like right now, like I know you see all the trends, man. Like you see it everywhere. There's a big hazmat trend right now going on. Like, is that like the wave? You think people's palates are evolving that way? Like, or do you think it's hot right now? So you're also a business. Like, let's ride the wave, or do you think it's just something? Why hazmat right now for everyone?
Man, so for us, like say you get 200 barrels in and you taste through all of them and they have low fill. So as a producer, we decided we're like, these barrels have 25 gallons on average and we paid top dollar for them. Why don't we heat cycle them and bring them from 120 to 140? Yeah, we may only have 10 or 12 gallons, but at least we can get out of the investment without losing money. And then let's just see what the whiskey does. So that was our premise 2-3 years ago when we were really heavily loading up on inventory. The trend though, like people freak out about 130s, 140s because I think it has to do with you can't go in the barrel higher than 125. A lot of producers go in the barrel at 120, 115.
Yeah, they go low.
Right. And so hot climate doesn't always mean good whiskey. You see some of these barrels in Texas and at 3 years old, they're empty, like even in a 53 gallon, just because it was 100 degrees the whole time.
Whereas you guys just got dumped on with snow for about 2 days, dude. People didn't know what to do there.
Yeah. The warehouse couldn't keep, we tried to set it on 80 in the winter. It was at like 68, which I mean, you're still getting good extraction though, is what's good. So, but I think hazmat's like, it's so rare too. You dump these barrels and they're at most like, highest yielding hazmat we've dumped was like, and granted, it was a 6-year bourbon. I think it had like 82 bottles. Like, so hazmat's just rare. People hear hazmat and they're like, what is that? And it's like, well, it's minimum 140 proof. They're like, 140 proof. And so for me, I think bourbon that's hazmat would be a trend. We've never really gone down the light whiskey thing because, they're re-gauged, which means they refill them, like they dump them into each other every 5 to 10 years. And it's like a 99 corn, 1% barley vodka that goes in the barrel at, 140, 160, and it goes into used oak. And that's just not what we wanted to do, right? Which looking back, if we were just only cared about money, damn, we missed the boat. But who gives a shit? Money's stupid. The whiskey is what we focus on. And so for us, like having hazmat bourbon, it's cool to like, you pull down a few pallets, you taste 12 barrels and you're like, you put the proofer in, you take the proof and you're like, no way, it's got to be broken. And you take it again, you're like 141.2 proof, 9-year bourbon, what? And then immediately everyone's jazzed up, whoever you're tasting with. But then when you taste it, and it's like, yeah, that actually is the Zaza. Like when it comes through, I think that's the cool thing about hazmat. Like that's why people are so like, ooh, it's taboo. Like as soon as you hear it, people get hyped because it's just rare, it's rich, it's good. So that's my take on it, man.
I think that's a really good way to say it. I think it's hype, but also like the people that are tasting it at that time are 100% just bought into what they just tasted at that specific moment. So then you get that hype, and hazmat already has a hype, and then based off the brand, you're gonna have another hype. So I think it's just there's such a good trend. Like, and that question wasn't to talk down on hazmat. It was an honest question because I'm seeing a lot of it right now too. Like, oh, people are like hazmat, and then secondary everywhere. It's like everything's the 150, the 140s all with the 160s, and then you have I think there's a brand in New York that came out like 160. I'm like, I don't know if I would even enjoy that, but like I want to try it. I'm intrigued. I'm like, well, you got me talking about it, so all right, you did your job.
Yeah, it was at Kings County probably.
Yeah, and I've had one thing from Kings County, and dude, it was phenomenal. And I know some people that really like it. I just haven't had enough of it, and I think I'm fortunate to be in California, like where we have so much stuff here. There's also not a lot for some brands. Yeah, this. I mean, when you enter California, you have to be ready to enter California. Like California is not a small state, man. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go to LA for the weekend. It's like that's an 8-hour drive. Like. It's an hour and a half flight. Like California's a big state. I think that's why a lot of brands don't come into California, because you got to be ready for it. Like, it's all over the place.
Man, I remember back in 2021, I think it was like Q3, we had just launched Texas, and we had one SKU, and like in 6 or 7 months, we did like 1,300 6-packs, and we're like, holy cow. And like throughout that like sprint in Texas, we're launching Arkansas, Tennessee, and then we launched Cali, and we're like, dude, Cali and Texas will float the boat, like between those two markets. And so it was like 400 cases of reserve. 45 days later, the distributor's like, what else you got? It's like, let's do 400 cases of toasted. And then, people were buying it.
I think that's when I first tried Nulu, was when he came to California, and Rocco, I think, did his own pick with you. There was a toasted, him and like 4 other stores did take together. And that's the first time I got it at Nulu. I always seen it everywhere.
Those were some 5-year, 21% rise that were high in the warehouse. They were palletized. I want to say I still have a bottle of his. I think it was like 124 proof, like 5-year, just great. And we drank it on live, and I hadn't had it since we bottled it. And I'm like, damn, this is a good barrel. It's just caramel. But yeah, like
that's now, like I keep going back to them, getting like that caramel corn. Like, this is like kettle corn style, like Ralston knows, but like that honey's still there, the berries are there, the custard. I'm still getting that like. There's like an apple note to me, and I think that's the fruit that's really kind of prominent in this. But like, it's like a caramel apple style, like really tasty, not a Granny Smith style, but like just like a good, like honey crisp, like good apple.
Man, I love that. Like, there's no bullshit. Like, there's just all these different flavors, and that's whiskeys. You drink with other people, and you start chopping it up, and it's like, man, this there's 100 different tasting notes in this one pour.
But I think that's the cool thing, that like so many people have different palates, and like you're gonna taste something that like, I'm sure there's a lot of foods that you and I probably agree on, but also like probably like complete opposite on some things. Like, but that reflects to what people taste in whiskey, man. That's why when I do those little baby gun reviews, I'm like, hey, nose 3 things, palate 3 things, finish 3 things. Like, hey, quick, because I'm not gonna try to try to like overthink anything, or like, really kind of dissect. I'm like, no, like I want that very high level surface on the surface. Like, hey, this is what I get, really quick, enjoy. Like, and I film those right then and there. Like, quick note, boom, done. All right, cool. Go back to it. I'm like, well, I got those 9 notes. We're good to go.
Got to swirl the glass, baby.
Got to swirl it. But that oak is one thing it's there on all 3, which sometimes oak disappears on the palate. The oak is on the palate here with this one. Like, so that's where I think you'll get oak on the nose and on the nose and the finish a lot. Sometimes you don't get on the palate. This one stays true to the palate, like all 3 stages for me. Like, yeah, I can see why you've been drinking this for the last couple of months.
Yeah, this, and then we dumped I think 6 other barrels, so it's been like hazmat 10 year. There was 2 hazmat 10 years, and then 2 other 10 years that were like 135 and 136. I think the 136 drink like a great Jolly Rancher with like oak and smoke and like that real rich toast, like, and again, I think there was 80 bottles in that barrel, just super short, and they're good, man. We're pumped. It's
that smoke is man, this is I appreciate this note. When you walk into like a humidor or like a cigar bar, you get like that kind of like aroma of like a good cigar, a good smoke. Like, that's what that palate has. Like, it's like a good, like, man, it just rained in this rick house like 2 days ago. You got like that kind of dry wetness effect going on in a rick house. Like, that's what really is in that glass. Like, when you finish, you're like, man, this is badass. Like, you walk into the rick house the first time, like, you get that first smell, like, that's the finish. That in the glass.
I love it, man. And that's, I completely agree. Like, you've been fortunate enough to come out to this part of the country a handful of times, and I saw that post you did today about asking a question. You're thieving yourself in Heaven Hills Warehouse, and like, just not everyone gets to experience that. But if, as you drink that with somebody that's never experienced it and describe it the way you just did, that's like one of the coolest things about bourbon, is like you just get to reminisce, talk, and like, this is so cool. Like, we're just sitting here on a computer, or you got a nice camera, I got a computer.
And you look great though.
Yeah, we're just chilling, chopping it up over a pour, and like it's all. That's why this business is truly the dream, man. Like, this is my profession. I get to talk and hang out with people virtually or in person, like you. Like, I'll be in Sacramento later this year to do a dinner with River City. I talked to Ro this week.
Good.
So that's oh no, I got to fly to Cali and go party with some people and have fun. And like I'm a clown anyways. It's like I got to go entertain some motherfuckers in California. Oh shit, this is a terrible life.
Hey, and here's the thing that happens though, man. It's also a business trip. You're gonna sling some bottles, dude. Like, but you are the face of, you know, I guess everything's gonna roll up to Nulu Whiskey House, but then you have what 3 kind of stepping stones from there. You're gonna have New Louisville Whiskey Company. You're gonna have the Hazel Baker. You're gonna have Nulu. Are you done? Are you gonna got fourth one coming or what?
So we're trying to iron out. Have you heard the story of how like there was a con man initially and like how all that started before my family came in to the picture?
No, but I know that's why you wanted to kind of make the name that for the family was the bottle of bond. Like, hey, that's like homage to like your dad and the family and everything, right?
Yeah. So pretty much we're trying to just tell this story that's our history is like, so my blending partner, right hand, Harrison, he started Derby City Spirits with this guy named Jay, whose real name was Ben. And long and short, he, you know, made $1 million mess, embezzled money, stole people's identities.
Oh, man.
My dad was on the hook for like 100-something grand. So that's how he got involved. Was he was a consultant for them, and he was footing the bill at this expensive attorney's office. They ran up like 150-something G's, and so my dad's like, I'm buying the assets and liabilities and starting my own distillery. Part of one of those assets was the trademark in the spirits industry for Derby City. So we own the
By the way, that is a fantastic name for being in Kentucky. How did no one ever have that name?
Well, we've owned the trademark since like 2014, 2015.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so that's where you know, we like you said, the name's badass. You're in Louisville. We got all this Louisville stuff. So I got a lot of, and we want to like make a splash with it. So I think it's too late to do it this year. But I think we're gonna do like a 9 or 10 year, like something sweet and easy, like a 90 proof, like just a big batch and release it once a year around Derby. You know, Derby City Spirits. Here's like your 60. I really think we could do like a 65 or 70, 75 at most, like 9 year, 90 proof, you know, because then it's like,
dude, everyone goes after those bottles, man. Like Woodford does it great. The Makers does their mint julep, but Makers has like the race and whatnot on it for their commemorative bottle. Like, dude, it's a slam dunk to have something like that, especially around the Derby time. Like, why not? Or even like, you know, with the pony races, because like I've been to Derby 3 times. I still think the pony races are the best. Yes, the main race is really fun, but that Friday is where it's at.
Friday, and then like we went 2 years ago on Tuesday. They call it like 5-0 Tuesday now, and even that was lit. Like it was a bunch of corporate and a lot of industry, like a lot of alcohol industry
coming in, like for the pre-partying for the whole weekend. Yeah,
before you're like, you know, before your customers come into town, it's like it was a bunch of locals getting down, and like you had everyone in there from t-shirts to like tuxedos. So you know, it's just a cool time. But that whole week, the city's electric. You know, COVID was not as fun. You know, it's nice to be out of that, and it's like, yeah, the city's buzzing again. So, you know, here in a couple months, we'll have Thunder over Louisville, and then, you know, the Chow Wagon, and next thing you know, it'll be Derby week, and so we're definitely focused. Like, you know, I thought about doing, you know, just ripping off Blanton's. No, I'm just kidding, but I don't know. We'll figure out something for, right? Like, just put a mule on top or a donkey. I don't know. Like, but
what can you put, man?
No,
dude, just put a checkered flag on it, dude.
I think we'll put a horseshoe. Honestly, around. Like I kind of want to do like a. Now we're talking about adding price, but like it'd be cool to have like a little horseshoe that's spelled Derby. I mean, sure, that's, you know, it's not the same. It's different, you know. But and then I don't know that we'd probably just buy like an off the shelf mold, like something like this, or you know, there's so many.
Like, I appreciate this from someone like yourself. You have a lot of bottles, and to try to like, I have an OCD in me, or like things need to line up. To have like sometimes like these odd shaped bottles that like will flare out or something like that. I'm like, God damn, it doesn't fit. I don't know where to put it. So it goes like up here where I'm like, where I can keep it out of sight. Yeah.
This juice is so, it's like, you're like the bottle, I hate the shape, but the juice is so good. I don't care. So
yeah. Hey, shorten that bottle up, make it like an Elijah Craig style, so I can put a bunch of them in the shelf instead of like I can fit like 3 of those where I can fit like 6 Elijah Craigs.
I hear you completely, man. I mean, the Nulu bottle, the Stag, like that's about as wide as I'd like any bottle.
Yep.
You know, I will say I got this sitting here, but these aren't like ideal shape, but I think
they work. They work.
But they look good. Yeah. I don't know. Packaging is, you know, again, we've developed a few brands now, and it's, I don't know. I hope to see.
Just a wild game, man. Like to think about, like, oh yeah, it's from whiskey to figuring it out. And like you have to figure out wax. You got to figure out how to bottle it. You got to figure out bottling, labeling, and then like, do you want to put it into a box or not? Like, or do you want to like, yeah, I'm glad I'm on this side, a consumer that gets to enjoy the fruits of the labor of everything that you put into it already.
Yeah, man. Again, there's worse things we could do, but I'd say packaging is probably like, if the juice is good, it's easy, right? Like we don't distill a lot of the bourbon, so you know we're just tasting, trying to find good stuff, blend good stuff, finish. You know, I think our hardest hurdle is labor, one, and then packaging. But no big deal. Get it done. And this was so we've actually been like having people commit to barrels of this for like almost 2 years, and that's how some of these barrels got those age statements. Is we're like, hey, we do like 7-year, and throughout 2023 we just couldn't get like the idea to come to fruition and like to materialize. And then
you had some barrels like already like, hey, like that's almost like a future barrel. Like, hey, I want this one. I want to see where it goes. Like once you figure out name, brand, all that, like, yeah, we're down for that to be ours.
Yes. Yeah. We just turned 9 and like we tasted it. I think summer of 2023 was the last time we tasted it. And that was one for Lincoln Road down in Mississippi. And when we tasted it, I was like, it's good, but it has a good fill level. Like we don't need to dump it. We don't need the money. Like if you're down to like, it'll be a little more expensive, but per bottle, but the juice. So we let it go another 1.5 years, and I sent Jamie a sample. And I was like, yo, did you try that after Christmas? And he was like, bro, that's phenomenal. I'm like, right? Like just being a little bit more patient. Like it went from good smoke, sweet, like sweet tea notes to like now it's cake. It is a freaking cake bomb. It's got the buttercream. It's got the cake texture.
You're a fat kid, man. Like I mean that very politely. I think we all are, but like we like our sweetness, man.
Dude, I'm saying it like, no, I'm going to drink this smoky, dry. No, give me that fat kid bourbon.
I mean, that's why you did so well with the maple brulee at KBF, man. Like, I think so many people were just drinking like bourbon, and then they had yours. And like, I haven't had this today. Thank you. Like, I needed that sweetness. I needed that kick. I needed something that, and it wasn't like it was nothing like. Not like it wasn't like a 95 proof. Like that was like 130. That was in the 130s too, right?
I think it was like 115, 116.
Okay, but still, it packed more of a punch than that.
It was a hazmat we were pouring too.
Okay,
so that's probably what you're thinking. Which even then, like I had a dude from Texas buy 12 of those, and like he was drinking 140.2 proof bourbon in like 95 degrees, super humid Kentucky weather, and he's like, man, I already got 3 lockers full, but shit, I need all 12 of these. I was like, I love you. You want me to sign them? Whatever, you know. I love that.
I'll carry it to your locker for you, man.
Yeah, dude, like that event's so cool. Like it's super humbling just because like people pull out their phones and be like, dude, look at all this Nulu. And it's like, you have 80 bottles of Nulu? Thank you. You're awesome. Like, you know, I never dreamt of having people have Nulu collections, not just bourbon, but like, yeah, I got a Nulu bunk. I got 20 Nulus even. I was like, that's, you know, I got a bunch back there, but 20, that's a lot.
I got 4 on my shelf.
Nice. And you got a new Louisville, you got a Hazelbaker, you got the spread, man.
Yeah, and then I got one more coming from the barrel pick that we did too.
Right. So that double oaks y'all did last year was banging. That was
so good, dude. Like I remember even Ro was like, man, he's like, I'm glad you talked me into it. I'm like, yeah, fool, like that shit was good. Like you fucking, he was a little worried about the maple. Oh, maple's sweet. I'm like, maple's hot right now, dude.
Dude, the maple brulee is our top seller for like since we launched it in what was that, September? I guess.
I love when you put into a maple brulee, and I'm like, dope. Don't even care that it has transitioned from another barrel. Like I can't wait now.
Yeah, and well, the maple was good. Like if you remember the pour, it had like nice long smoke oak, but it had like buttery pancake texture.
Dude, pancakes in the glass, man, 100%.
So now it's just a little darker, like because we just left it. We let it keep aging, so it tastes older. It's like older maple bourbon, which I mean,
it was probably a 6-year, almost 7-year, I think, right?
Yeah, I'll have to double check. It was, okay. I think it's either 7 or about to be. So,
okay,
yeah, good age.
All right, we got a good day yesterday with college hoops, right?
Yeah, man, the UK Vandy game, that was a barn burner. And then, the Auburn game, that was a tight one. The Kansas game was tight. The Duke game was tight. Yeah, dude, banger after. I'm trying to remember them because I was wasted. I was drinking mimosas at like noon.
Would you get yesterday something like, because you look, as someone who makes whiskey and produces whiskey and bottles it and all that, like you got a really good bottle yesterday for yourself that, what'd you get?
That Olfo 1924.
Yeah,
I was trying not to drink more, and I'm like, but I bought this, and I was like, what if I don't wake up tomorrow? I would have not drank it. So I talked myself into having more fun.
See, here's my thing. There's some bottles like I might save for like an occasion, but like I was like, or like this one, I'll save it just to open it up with you so I can try it for the first time with you. Like that's the only time like I kind of like save bottles per se. It's just like for timing maybe, like. But if someone ever wants to come to my house and I haven't opened it, I'm like, I don't know why I haven't opened it. Open it, try it. Let's do it. Like you live once, man. I live in the moment, dude. I'm a moment guy. Like, hey, yeah, I love to plan for future stuff and do as much as I can, but nah, I'm in the moment.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's better that way. And my wife even, she reminds me of that. She's like, you're so hard on yourself. You work hard. Like, who cares if you blowed up on the weekend because you drank too much? Like, you're 30. Go have fun with me. I'm like, yeah, you're right, babe. And hopefully we'll be like you. I'll be big daddy with like 10 kids and, just working to feed my.
Why does everyone say I have 10 kids? I got 4.
Once you're
I'm like, hey, I got to talk to my buddy Chase. I was like, inside the room, I give them Legos. I got Disney on in there. And I was like, we need like 30, 40 minutes to hang out with my buddy. I got to talk to him about something. And I was like, that's it. And then I keep hearing the door close. I'm like, God damn it, kids.
Dude, once you have, so my sister-in-law and her husband have 3, and like when they jump from 2 to 3, and I don't, we don't have kids yet, but I'm like, man, that like I grew up with 2, so did my wife, and like everybody who I've met that has 2, but everyone I knew who grew up with 3 or more or has 3 or more, it's like once you're outnumbered, it's a zoo.
Oh, dude, we were outnumbered fast too because we went from our youngest is she's 6 to the twin boys that are 5, so we went from 1 to 3. In 13 months, like, and then we're like,
boys, same age, they can't break enough stuff,
bro. They just have they're the best friends, and they're like each other's enemy too. It's great, and I can't wait for the teenage years. Like, so they're in the toddler stage now. Like, okay, I'm excited to see like the teenage years. Like, are you guys going to be really friends, or are we just going to be like wrestling and fighting every day?
That's the beauty of parenting, right? Like you can guide them and like teach them the importance of like, you guys only like y'all are your only brothers. Like there's only you 2. So you guys should probably be pretty tight,
Yeah.
And that like my brother, he's a few years older and he works with the business, he and I have designed all this packaging together. And like, I'm like, bro, like it's so cool. If, you and I, as long as you have a computer and I have a whiskey thief and a bung puller, we can make brands and make whiskey. And, it's cool to have like, my brother, my best friend, whatever, like, but he works with me. So family business is fun. We used to butt heads a lot more, but now that we're in our 30s, it's like,
we met him when we were there, right? Harrison.
Oh no, that's, so he's like basically adopted now,
Okay. He's part of the family.
Yeah. It's because so his best friend was the con man. They started that Derby City Spirits together. And then my dad was like, Harrison was my age then. That's crazy perspective. He's like 41. So he was 30, 31 when all this was happening, right? Like 31 years old, you own a distillery, you're living your dream. And then like the next day, your best friend whom you lived with had a distillery lift, flees the country, drains the bank accounts, leaves a kid that he just had with the chick. And like,
what?
Yeah, he had stolen his identity and like ran up hundreds of thousands on Harrison's identity, like under his social. He had a Kentucky driver's license with his face and Harrison's all his info. Like this dude was a bad man. It was his best friend. needless to say, Harrison's obviously like very happy-go-lucky, naive, nicest guy ever. You know, we've gotten him a little thicker skin of, well, he'll clown with us now. It's kind of funny, you know. So I love when he gives me shit, because that's how I communicate love. Is like, if I talk shit to you, you know, the gloves are off. I respect you, right? That's how I was raised. Like, my dad he'd call me dumbass when I was growing up, because he's like, look, you're being a dumbass. If you learn not to be a dumbass, you'll be fine. Thanks, Dad. I'm 3. I don't even know my colors. I don't know. Yeah, man. You'll have to, next time you're in town, my brother's been helping do labor and bottle and stuff now, so he's around. You'll meet him.
Nice, man. Nice. Did your brother do this? He did this, right?
Yeah. It's he messaged me. I was like, yo, I want almost like a pen written like skyline view, like almost like a stencil with a pen or pencil. And he messaged me at like 3 a.m. I'm asleep. So I wake up to this text from 3 a.m. and he's like, dude, I hate you, but I got it done. And like, he sent me like just the isolated work. He was like, so I texted him when he finally wakes up. He's like, dude, I was on Illustrator, or what is it? Yeah, Adobe Illustrator. He's like, I was on there for 6 or 7 hours, like individually making those lines. And so like, he's super, like, he's proud of that, like, which he should be. Like, he isolated the orange, and then I told him, I was like, make the colors, like, make them more modern, like make them kind of like trippier, I guess. Like, and so when he came with the teal, I was like, oh, dude. And then the orange, like, he picked all the colors, and
I think that's why it really works. It's something that doesn't look too traditional. It's something that stands out. It's like, hey, let's be honest. A lot of people that are just going to walk down an aisle and they might not know what they're getting if they're trying to get a gift or something. They're going to look at something that might have a little more like pop, more than just like a standard, you know, offering or something. They want something that might be a little different, unique. But I think having the colors pop like that really is huge.
I appreciate it, man. We're excited. El Chapo wins, dude. I'm sitting here. I'm like, I'm trying to be good, and I'm like on my 3rd little micro pour. It's like, it's great. And this is what, like, I'm telling you, dude. I'll go to like my local watering hole. We'll get one of these down to here. Next thing you know, he's like, dude, let him try it. And then like, it's down to here. I'm like, well, shit, I'm just gonna leave it at this point. Like, you come back, it's not there. Somebody finished it that night. You know, I just talked about it. You know, that's the fun of it. So I'm pumped, man. These barrels are just getting older. Like, this barrel, you know, we dumped this almost 3 months ago now. So 9 months goes by really quickly. So, you know,
dude, time goes by so fast right now, man. Like, I just feel like I just saw you, and I feel like, all right, and then I'm going to see you again. We're going to be out there in April for some stuff, and then KBS is going to come around. It's just like, I feel like the older we get, man, time just like, dude, next year. I'm like, slow the fuck down.
Yeah, I see you probably as much as I see some of, like, you know, my friends that have been my friends for a long time. You know what I mean? It's like, when you're an adult, if you can see someone like once a quarter, you're like, dude, we hung out.
That's how you know we're old. Like, hey, we're gonna get together this quarter, right? Like, we're not even trying to say week or month anymore. Like, we're gonna give ourselves 3 months to hang out.
Yeah, but it's so true. Like, you go years sometimes without seeing someone. You're like, damn, I feel like I saw him yesterday. But if you can hang out and get together like nothing happened, it's like that's when you know you got a good friend.
Yep, for sure, man. Well, hey, congrats and cheers to this bad boy, man. El Chapo 134.2, new Louisville Whiskey Co. Straight bourbon whiskey, man. Dude, cheers, congrats, man. I'm excited for you and Nulu Whiskey House. And like, really excited to keep up with all the names like everyone else.
Dude, I appreciate your time. Hope you guys have a great Sunday. God bless you and your family, man. I hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.